Ant-Man is a Marvel superhero movie directed by Peyton Reed and written by the genius behind, let me think, Spaced, Shaun of the Dead, and Hot Fuzz. Hell, there's some other good movies that he's written as well. Edgar Wright. Well, when I say that it was written by Edgar Wright, that was just the original screenplay. It was eventually changed by people at Marvel, like Joe Cornish and Adam McKay, but even Paul Rudd himself had a crack at it. It features Paul Rudd as Scott Lang, an ex-thief that just got out of prison. He doesn't want to steal anymore. He wants to make an honest living instead of going back to jail again. That is, until he's given a tip about an old man with a very, very large safe in his house that's going away for the weekend. After he breaks into the safe, however, he only finds this weird red gimp suit and a helmet, which he takes home and tries on, shrinking him down to the size of an ant. From there, Scott is recruited by the very rich old man he was trying to steal from, Dr. Hank Pym, and he becomes Ant-Man. First off, I just want to say that Paul Rudd was perfect for this role. It really suits his acting style and who he seems to be as a person. I really liked the character of Scott Lang a lot. I found myself rooting for him the way the movie made me feel, or was supposed to make me feel, but not just because of the dialogue. It was mostly because of Paul Rudd's performance. And yeah, at the end of the day, you could get a lot of different people to be in this role and play basically exactly the same character, but he did it well. Michael Douglas was great as always. He plays Dr. Hank Pym, the old guy Scott tries to rob I mentioned earlier. He plays the original Ant-Man and the scientist behind the formula used to shrink and grow the wearer of the Ant-Man suit. Evangeline Lilly plays Dr. Pym's daughter Hope. She's trained in martial arts and is honestly a really cool character. I have a little bit of a gripe with how they handled her, but I'll leave that for later. Her performance is really great. The little girl who played Ant-Man's daughter was surprisingly good for a child actor. Anthony Mackie is fantastic as Falcon. Corey Stoll plays a really good cliche villain that is just a dick because movie, I guess. The cast overall is pretty solid, even the smaller characters. Something that really stands out in this movie is the humor. As we all know, Edgar Wright is an extremely funny and talented writer, so what else would we expect? The action scenes are also really great, but my favorite scenes were when the action and comedy aspects of the film mixed perfectly, which now that I think of it, is most of the movie. It has serious parts, that's for sure, and it has fairly intense fight scenes, but there's always a funny visual joke thrown in there, usually taking advantage of the fact that these fights that feel massive are actually being fought between people that are literally the size of ants. I love how it balances humor and action, a thing that a lot of movies fail at. The comic relief in the middle of serious scenes didn't take me out of the movie, it just made me like it even more. It's similar to Guardians of the Galaxy. It caters to both superhero fans and people who are dragged to see the movie by their superhero fan friends. And that's just something that Marvel is doing well overall for the most part nowadays. As someone who isn't into superhero movies, like at all, to the point where I haven't even seen the Captain America or Iron Man movies, Ant-Man was still targeted towards me. Like most Marvel films, it takes itself seriously, but never so seriously that it shuts everybody out but the biggest superhero fans. I really love the way that this movie was directed. It made the tiny little fights feel like massive epic battles. The visual comedy was done very well. Great job, Peyton Reed. All of that being said though, this movie was not perfect. I did have some problems with it at the end of the day. For the first hour or so of the movie, I found myself asking, why the hell isn't Hope just Ant-Man? I mean, she's sure as hell trained enough to be... They're setting her up to be the Wasp. Of course, they explain this multiple times, subtly in the dialogue. I found it fairly obvious because the cliche has been used a million times. I mean, a father not wanting his child to be in danger, no matter how skilled they are? Gee, that's original. Despite this, the movie ends up setting aside a whole scene where Hope bluntly says that her father won't let her fight because she's his daughter and he wants to protect her. No shit. Of course Scott Lang is Ant-Man instead of her, because he's expendable. I understood that. Then again, it's a modern Marvel movie, and it feels the need to explain everything to the audience, which is fair enough. I don't really watch a Marvel movie for its intelligence, so it didn't really bother me. Even though that was annoying, I'm glad that a Wasp movie is coming, and they didn't make the Wasp annoying like she is in the original Avengers comics from the 60s. There were also very, very, very minor sound editing hiccups, like the sound of a clock in the background being present for most of the scene, then stopping, but I'm fairly sure I'm the only one in the world that noticed that, and it really didn't happen a lot. Not enough to actually take a point off, just something I wanted to mention. There really wasn't much I didn't like about this movie. There were a couple clunky lines of dialogue in the whole film, and you can tell which parts were written by Edgar Wright and which parts were thrown in last minute by Marvel, but it was overall written pretty well. It annoyed me that Ant-Man and Hope, who was obviously being set up to be the Wasp, we all knew that, suddenly had a romantic thing going on at the end of the movie. Seriously, it's out of nowhere. There are no hints at all in the whole movie to them being a thing. Then Dr. Pym finds them making out in front of his door. It was so out of place that it hurt. Why does every movie with an attractive male and female have to end with those people together? Seriously, I know she's gonna be the Wasp, but they're not the original duo, so why do they have to be together? Why not just friends or partners? I'm sorry that it's just something that irritates me a lot in movies. Hell, even the first TMNT movie did it. And it looks like the new one's going to too. Overall, Ant-Man is really memorable as a superhero film, but it's also surprisingly good as a normal, comedy action. The pacing is fantastic, something that has really helped along with the use of comedy. I never checked my phone while watching this or hope the credits were half an hour long so I could just leave and never watch it again. Something that is really surprising and appreciated for a 2-hour long superhero movie, and something that Avengers Age of Disappointment did not achieve. The action was great, the jokes really hit almost 100% of the time, the direction was really well done, it was well written, and terrifically acted. Hell, even the kid actor was good. I feel as though I got my money's worth with this one, and I'll probably end up picking it up on Blu-ray when it's a little bit cheaper, or at least rewatching it on Netflix, if it ever goes on Netflix. I enjoyed myself with this one, even though I don't really like superhero movies that much, but it's definitely one of the more enjoyable Marvel movies I've seen, sliding in right under Guardians of the Galaxy. If I had to rewatch either Guardians of the Galaxy or Ant-Man right now, I'd probably pick Guardians almost every time, pretty much only because of the soundtrack. I recommend Ant-Man to anyone that hasn't seen it yet, and people that really enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a genuinely pretty great movie, and that's why Ant-Man gets my rental seal of approval and an 8.5 out of 10. Have you guys seen this movie? What did you think of it? Do you have anything else you would like me to review? I'd love to hear your opinions down below. Anyway, I hope you have a great day and happy watching. Ripley is honestly really cool in this movie. I love her character because of how human she is.